9 a.m., Dusseldorf. Bernd Ulrich, marketing director of a German machine tool company. He's got an important contract to sign in Dallas, Texas. He'll be there soon after 4:30. 9:10 a.m., Bahrain. Abdul Radwan, diplomat, bound for a United Nations emergency debate, 7,500 miles away in Manhattan this afternoon. He'll be in New York at 3 o'clock. 9:20 a.m., Aberdeen. Bob Hoffmeyer, American oil rig superintendent, back on dry land in Scotland after a month's duty 200 miles out in the North Sea. He's got a date with his family in Houston. He'll be in Texas by 5 o'clock. 11:15 a.m., Paris. Marie Leclerc, her business, haute couture. She's got a lunchtime fashion show in Washington. She'll be in America at noon. 11:30 a.m., London. Max Turner, television journalist with an urgent assignment in Kansas City. He'll be in the American Midwest at 4:20. Five people in a hurry. 5 people for whom time is precious. 5 members of the new generation of air travelers ready to pay a premium fare to cross the world at twice the speed and half the normal jet time. They're heading for Heathrow, London. For today, they're going transatlantic supersonic. For Abdul Radwan, a supersonic connection. British Airways Concorde Flight 301 from Bahrain has flown him 3,500 miles to London in 4¼ hours, and his journey to America is already half completed. For his baggage, it's only a short journey to Concorde Flight 579, already loading for Washington. British Airways transatlantic Concorde services have opened a new era in swift daytime journeys from the Gulf and Europe to cities deep in the heart of America. It's now possible to leave Bahrain at 9:45 in the morning and arrive Washington at midday. Leave Tehran 6 a.m., arrive Washington noon. Leave Stockholm 9 a.m., arrive Chicago at 2:45. Leave London 1 p.m., arrive Salt Lake City at 5:50. Leave Zurich 9:15 a.m., arrive Kansas City at 4:20. Seasonal schedule changes may affect some of these times, but they won't alter the convenience of the same-day journeys. But Concorde's speed in the air must be backed by streamlined passenger handling on the ground. So at Heathrow, it's the job of a special mobile unit to guarantee that passengers on incoming subsonic flights are transported quickly to Concorde. Mobile Transfer Officer Tony Miller has a list of all Concorde passengers to be met off domestic and overseas flights arriving at Heathrow this morning.
Concorde passenger, Mr. Hoffmeyer, please.
His first rendezvous is with the Aberdeen Trident. Bob Hoffmeyer hadn't expected this personal service. Nor had Bernd Ulrich from Dusseldorf, as he travels to Terminal 3 in a special minibus. Marie Leclerc gets the high-speed treatment reserved for minimum time transfers. Her connection from Paris allows only 60 minutes from TriStar arrival to Concorde departure.
Female
one bag.
So she gets a privileged journey across the airport tarmac, direct to the Washington Concorde. No long walk along terminal corridors for her. She's checked in and allocated her seat by radio, and her boarding pass issued mobile style.
That's it.
25 minutes after touchdown from Paris, Marie Leclerc is at the Concorde gate. Meanwhile, the transfer baggage is getting preferential treatment. From Terminals 1 and 2, it's on the way to Concorde's home. Not forgotten is Marie Leclerc's suitcase, which arrived in a container off the Paris TriStar. The mobile unit is already collecting it. .30. At the special Concorde reception area, a 3-minute walk from the aircraft, Max Turner is checking in.
Here you are.
Thank you very much. Would you like the smoking or non-smoking zone? That's the window seat in row 22.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
.40. 20 minutes to departure. Flight 579's 80 passengers have come together, and here in the comfort of the Concorde Gate Lounge, they relax. There is still time for a pre-flight bourbon, an urgent cable, black coffee, a last-minute phone call, or to study that Dallas contract.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. British Airways announced the departure of Concorde's supersonic flight BA 579 to Washington. Those passengers sitting in seat rows 22 to 26, please board the aircraft now. Will all other passengers remain in this lounge until...
12:45. Boarding is underway.
Good afternoon, sir. Accept and safety. See the stewardess down there, please. Okay, thank you.
The first time supersonic passenger finds himself in a surprisingly normal aircraft cabin. He's soon impressed by the comfort of the specially designed seats. Room for the tallest to stretch his legs.
First row, sir, just round the corner there. Thank you, sir.
There's plenty of stowage space for briefcases and jackets, and every inducement to relax in the air-conditioned, all-first-class cabin with its 100 seats. A club-like atmosphere, created by the warm colors of the cabin decor and the two abreast seating. One o'clock. Departure. Flight 579 is gently eased back from the jetty. Concorde, the most thoroughly tested aircraft in civil aviation history, with its long, slender fuselage and sculptured delta wing, is the shape of high design technology. Created to operate with equal ease, subsonically and up to twice the speed of sound. Faster than a rifle bullet. Nearly as long, but around half the all-up weight of a 747. On the flight deck, the 3-man crew, 2 pilots and an engineer complete their checks, lowering the nose to increase visibility for taxiing and takeoff. Concorde's 4 big Olympus engines pack more than double the thrust of a 707. But for the passengers, there's nothing dramatic about the takeoff. The only difference they may notice is the ground receding rather more rapidly than usual, for Concorde climbs fast. Within minutes of takeoff, they're already travelling at 650 miles an hour, just below the speed of sound, and soon enjoying pre-lunch aperitifs.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain Eames speaking. As some of you may have noticed, we're just crossing the Bristol Channel and coming up to the Welsh coastline. Our route on from here takes us briefly across South Wales, then out to sea again. As soon as we've cleared the coast, we shall begin our acceleration to supersonic speed. We pass about 40 miles south of Ireland, maintaining the acceleration to our supersonic cruise speed of Mach 2, about 1,350 miles an hour. Across the Atlantic, we shall be flying at nearly twice the height of the subsonic traffic, and just 2 hours out of London, we shall pass south of Newfoundland, then down past Nantucket Island, where at close to 60,000 feet, our highest point, we shall begin our deceleration and descent. We'll pass Long Island subsonically and cross the New Jersey coast about 40 miles south of New York, across Maryland and into Washington, 3,778 miles from London. And the flight time, 3 hours, 37 minutes.
"20 minutes out of London comes the moment some passengers have been awaiting with anticipation. The transition from subsonic to supersonic flight. It's what Concorde is all about. The acceleration through Mach 1, the speed of sound, is accomplished so smoothly that but for the cabin Mach meter and an announcement from the captain, most passengers would be unaware of the transition. They're more likely to be made aware of the event by people like Bob Hoffmeyer, collecting a prize for the family album. For some, Concorde has become a supersonic office. Others, through complimentary headsets, sample one of the 5 stereo channels of audio entertainment. As Concorde begins its gentle cruise up to 57,000 feet, there's virtually no sensation of speed or height. Above, the sky begins to assume a deep indigo blue. Far below, the cloud tops create the illusion that the aircraft is stationary, suspended in space. It's cruising up here where winds are light that makes it possible for Concorde to operate punctually, to arrive when the timetable says it will. From Ireland to the coast of Newfoundland is something like 2,000 miles. Concorde flies it in just an hour and a half, the time it takes to enjoy a leisurely meal, with the choice of 3 main courses and a selection of vintage wines.
This is Captain Eames again. I thought you'd like to know that we're now cruising at Mach 2, that's twice the speed of sound, 1,350 miles an hour, which is 23 miles a minute. In fact, as we head west, we're travelling faster than the sun.
Beneath the cloud, away to the north, the coast of Nova Scotia in eastern Canada is sliding by. Salmon, caviar, duck, fruit salad and kirsch, camembert, and now a glass of port. The rural village outside Dusseldorf he left a few short hours ago seems a world away for Bernd Ulrich. Time for Abdel Radwan has been beaten almost beyond belief. He left Bahrain at 9:45 a.m. Now, as he sets his watch back to American time, it is incredibly only 10:35 the same morning. From nearly 60,000 feet above Nantucket Island off the Massachusetts coast, Concorde begins the 400-mile descent into Washington. And rapidly, but imperceptibly to the passengers, decelerates back to subsonic flight. 10 minutes to 12, Dulles, Washington's International Airport.
Concorde Speedbird 579 Dulles Tower. We cleared the land runway 1 right. The winds are variable 330 degrees, 040 degrees at 5.
Dulles 579, roger.
Taxiway, say your direction of flight and requested VFR altitude departing Dulles.
Flight 579 touches down to complete a 3,780-mile journey in just over 3.5 hours, less than half the time of the subsonic flight. And the eastbound flight is just as quick. The parking ramp at Dulles is half a mile from the terminal building. Air-conditioned mobile lounges are waiting to ferry the passengers across. As they leave Concorde, for most passengers, there's a sense of unreality. The flight was so quick and relaxing, they didn't have time to get bored. And they all agree on one thing. They've crossed 5 time zones, yet they've arrived refreshed with no feeling of disorientation. And there's still half an American day ahead of them. The suitcases are also getting supersonic treatment. They'll be in the baggage hall ahead of the first passenger.
British Airways Concorde supersonic flight BA 579 from London has landed. Passengers may be met in approximately 15 minutes at the international arrival
From Washington's
area,
supersonic
lower level,
gateway to the United States,
terminal.
same afternoon domestic flights provide connections to nearly 40 cities throughout the eastern seaboard, the Midwest, and the deep south. And from most of these American cities, there are connections for same-day Concorde flight to London.
Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon. You came in on the Concorde, huh?
That's right.
How did you like it?
Absolutely beautiful.
Great. Let's see. They've checked your baggage through the Kansas City.
A few of the American onward flights go from Dulles, like Max Turner's to Kansas City. He's booked on United.
Actually, it's up in the 80s today. It should be a pleasant trip all the way across.
Sounds just like London.
He left his London office at 11:30. He'll be filming his interview in Missouri at 5 o'clock.
Gate number 10. Great. Thank you and have a pleasant trip.
Thank you very much. Bye.
But most connecting flights go from Washington's domestic National Airport, 26 miles from Dulles. Concorde passengers make the journey in the luxury of air-conditioned limousines, compliments of British Airways. The limousines halve normal subsonic connecting times. Marie Leclerc left Paris at noon. Her fashion show in downtown Washington starts at 1 o'clock. With the help of the car that's been sent to meet her, she'll be there. For Bernd Ulrich, Abdul Radwan, and Bob Hoffmeyer, the 45-minute journey to the National Airport runs through rolling, wooded Virginian countryside. Freeway runs alongside the Potomac River on the outskirts of Washington before sweeping into the city's national airport. Abdel Radwan left Bahrain just before 10 this morning. It's only 1:30 and he's flown a third of the way around the world. New York and the United Nations are now just an hour's flight away. Bernd Ulrich had breakfast in Dusseldorf, lunch over the Atlantic. Braniff will get him to his Dallas conference this afternoon. Bob Hoffmeyer's never landed back on American soil from the North Sea so fast before. Delta will have him in Texas before sundown. Bahrain, Washington. For British Airways, the supersonic era has just begun. As the Concorde network grows, services cutting subsonic times in half are planned from London to New York, 3.5 hours. Melbourne, 13.5 hours. Tokyo, 8 hours. Supersonic passenger flight is now a reality, shrinking the air routes of the world. Already, the Atlantic is less than 4 hours wide.